Start with a moment of silent reflection, and then say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do the roll call, please.
Mayor Ryan.
Here.
Mr. Campion.
Here.
Mrs. King. Here. Mr. American.
Here.
Mr. Schuler.
Here.
Mr. Horvath.
Here.
Then I'm going to read the Statement of Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Co-Star newspaper and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with Borough policy. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. There is two changes, right? The first one is that the executive session notes that at the very end it says personnel police, and it should read as is in the ordinance, personnel admin finance.
On the resolution.
Yeah, on the resolution, sorry.
Right.
And the second change is we're adding resolution 2016-36. Which is, a resolution of the Borough Council confirming the appointment of Catherine Francolini as the office assistant. So that will be added to the agenda. Get a vote?
On the motion.
I'll take the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the executive and regular session for December 14th, 2015.
Mayor, I just want to make an adjustment on the executive session minutes that states the minutes, the December 14th, 2015 executive session was called to order by Acting Mayor Sarah King Mechanico. It should be just Mayor Mechanico.
That would be all. All right,
So that.
we need a motion and a second for that, right?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next item is the presentation. I have actually a letter to present, which is the presentation of names of the replacement for my council seat. So I have a letter that lists the three names as, I have it somewhere, Sandy Dennison, Nate Novak, and Art Herner are the three names that the Democratic Committee is going to submit.
Is that a nomination?
No, I'm not sure we're gonna, it's up to the council if we're gonna even vote on those tonight. But those names will be, we have, I think, 30 days from receipt of those names to make, to
30
fill
days
that
after
seat.
the occurrence of the vacancy.
Okay, so we have 15 more days or so, but today's the 11th, but I vacated the seat on the 1st, so 19 more days. And here's the letter. You can hand that down.
I do have a question. Do we have any kind of a bio on Sandy Dennison? Because I'm not sure everybody knows anything about her.
Okay, I can put something together.
Could you?
Yeah.
That would be great.
I mean, she was a former head of the PTA, but beyond that, she's been a resident for, I think, like 15 years. But
She's done nothing with the town yet.
What?
She's done nothing with the town so far.
As far as like the zoning board or planning board.
Zoning board, planning board.
Yeah, like the head of the PTA was, I think,
That's
and
just
she's
the
been involved with the school in a lot of different ways, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we have any other presentations. We don't have any scheduled public hearings, which brings us to the public comment section. This section is for agenda items only. If you have any comment for any item that's on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, and give us your comment. Sure.
for Atlantic Avenue. I see on the correspondence that you've been receiving correspondence from Millstone, Shrewsbury, and Wall about their opting out of the Monmouth County Assessment Program for taxes. And I was wondering when that will be discussed by you folks, and it's not on the agenda for tonight, about getting out of that program. Most of you who were on the council last year went along with it because you had to go along with it, because you were forced to go along with it. But as of November the 30th, the Monmouth County Board of Taxation allowed towns to opt out if they wish to. And there's a lot of serious questions about how that program is being run. So far, Avon, Belmar, Manasquan, Eatontown, Millstone, and Shrewsbury have dropped out of this experimental pilot program. So I was wondering if you're planning on discussing that at some point.
Yes, we are, I think, very soon. If you were here at the last meeting, we actually discussed this, was I think the last meeting of 2015. And, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but certainly it seemed to me that the overwhelming tide of the council was that we would eventually opt out for various reasons, but I think it should probably be on the agenda, you're right, in the next meeting. When do we have until we have to?
It's still
Okay, but yeah, you probably see that very shortly, I think, on the agenda. We all have, if you were at that meeting, it was, we all, I think, expressed at the end very strong opinions, but they all being the same way that, yeah, this wasn't working.
Well, I think, John, the other thing that played into that was when our contract was up, which I think was part of what we were waiting for, right, Jay?
Yes, that's correct. Just by way of background, the council, as part of the assessment demonstration program, we solicited quotation and awarded a contract for the inspection portion of the inspection requirement portion of the program. That requires on average 20% of the properties in town being inspected on an annual basis. We are currently under contract to provide those inspections for 3 years, those years being 2014, 15, and 16. So as I stand here, we are just at the early stages of the 3rd year of that 3-year contract. That contract also has an option that allows, at the borough's option, to extend it for an additional 2 years. The theory behind that was that doing so would allow one company to be responsible for a full cycle of the 20% inspections. In any event, the opt-out that is currently available provides opting out effective for the 2017 year. So we are already under contract through the end of this year.
So all the other towns that have opted out are not opting out until the beginning of next year. And that's the earliest anybody can opt out.
That's correct.
Okay. Oh, please approach.
Marilyn Placitella, 30 Spruce Lane. Well, we have received 2 tax increases this year. We live in Fairway News. We purchased there 2 years ago. And I was wondering, I'm very relieved to hear, this is the first meeting we've ever attended, my husband and I. I'm very relieved to hear that we are going to be opting out of this program, which seems totally unfair. But where does that leave us now?
As far as the raises that you just
Yes,
received, I think you would have to go through the regular process of challenging that with our assessor.
Well, we have tried that and haven't been successful there. We are currently filing an appeal, which we'll have a copy of tomorrow. I do understand that the town of Manasquan has allowed their residents time with appointed assessors, like a half-an-hour appointments, to discuss their taxes and have reduced a lot of the taxes right now while they are in the process of opting out.
So what, I'm not sure what you're,
Well, my
they actually have the
question is-
assessor like in the Borough Hall to
Yes.
sit down with residents to?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm just commenting that this is what I've heard from people that live in Manasquan. I was just wondering, where does it leave us with our 2 tax increases, which were, nobody ever came and inspected our properties. And when we bought the property, we didn't make major improvements, just cosmetic improvements. And we don't understand it, why we were chosen, or, did they just randomly choose different homeowners to increase their taxes?
Every year
Yeah.
that we were a member of this program, we inspected 20% of the town, and with that, they used that as a basis to assess the entire town. So every year, 80% of the town was not being, physically inspected.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, and then I think the assessments were just based on the fact that, the values of the property went up as they stated, or that would be the justification for why the increases were there.
However, other homeowners who I have comparable sales and other homeowners that have the exact same unit, because Fairway Muse, there are several different styles of architecture, but several of them have not received any increases at all. So we were just like, okay, random case, or 20%, you could be among the 20%, but nobody ever came and inspected our home. So I just want to know, what do we do in the interim? We file an appeal? Is that the route we have to go, and wait until the town opts out of the program and pay the increase, which
That's
is
not really going
considerable?
to change it. One of the most frustrating parts, and I had mentioned at the last meeting that I felt the same as you, I was not part of any of the previous assessments, yet
Yes.
this year I went up again.
Yes,
So we're paying for this assessment and we're going to go up anyway. I'm kind of wondering what we're paying money to try and quantify the assessment value of each property by inspecting it, but then we're just going to arbitrarily on some computer just send out increased assessments. I know that I've gone over with our borough administrator how they figure some of that out and look at comparable things, but I feel it's very subjective, and I think until they can take a lot of that away, it's a difficult spot to be in. However, we as a governing body are stuck with the laws that say this is what we have to do. We can't interfere with our assessor, we can't tell him how to assess properties. Our hands are tied, the authority comes from the county.
okay.
And most of the, well, I don't want to say most, but we were compelled to basically agree to this. We were told that we were going to have a choice of different companies that would do the assessments and things like that. And at the end of the day, there was only one company bid. So the county, honestly, the county, it seemed or had the appearance of being disingenuous. Let's put it that way.
I know.
All right.
Usually, as I recall, when the assessments changed, usually when they would go up, when we had a reevaluation, the tax rate would be adjusted accordingly. I don't see that happening.
Well, I think part of what affects that is there's a couple variables that come into play in taxes. Some go down, some go up. We've kept our municipal taxes stable here for how many years have we been with no increase? The problem is, as the school goes up and the county goes up, wherever you go in your assessment, so the people whose taxes may have gone down, their assessed value, they don't see that because the taxes go up on the county and the schools, so they feel like they stay the same. The people who go up really go up because now you get the higher assessment plus the increase of taxes. So again, we're a very small piece of the pie. When you look at what we collect in taxes, you write your check to the borough of Spring Lake Heights, but of that, I would say, 75 to 80% goes to the school and the county. And I kind of feel like it's kind of like payday. If people had to sit down and write individual checks to all the people who get into their paycheck instead of having the automatic deductible, people might go to the matter and voice their opinion. In this case, the county and the schools are the biggest hits that, yes, they're held by caps, but what's 2% of $9 million? So saying they're staying under cap when you're going up by the maximum amount, it's kind of smoke and mirrors, but our hands are tied at our municipal budget, and I wish there was more we could do to help.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your good information, and I look forward to this AGP program being discontinued by our town as well.
Go ahead, Jake.
Just in light of these two questions now, it's important to note that the deadline for filing tax appeals is rapidly approaching. That's
January 15th.
January 15th, and those appeals get filed directly with the county tax board. So I don't want anyone to leave here based on some of the comments that there's some relief pending. The only way to, the safety valve here is that any property owners that feel that their property is assessed at an amount different than what they feel it's worth, the appeal process is the mechanism to seek relief for that.
Yes, go ahead.
Beth Bernardo, 610 Monmouth Ave. Mine's also on taxes. I've had a $100,000 increase with not one penny. I'm 238 land only, and you got me at 475. I have a 93-foot easement. I would like a fair assessment. I'm on Monmouth Ave. All houses like mine, little ones, are knocked down. I'm land only. My family's been in real estate for 50 years. I mean, my aunt laughs at this. There's no way I'm 475. I mean, 239 to 475, that's a big difference. And I like the idea of what she said, having the assessor come here, because why do I have to pay for an appraiser? And then have that appraiser pay for him to come to the hearing? Because I did my hearing last year. Nothing was brought down when I went by myself, but when I went with a lawyer, something was brought down, and it was just tacked on again the next year. $100,000 in 2 years.
Yeah, that's one of the big problems, I think, with
I have
this
a
program.
93-foot easement. None of the cops have an easement. And you can't sit here and tell me that doesn't affect my property value when it's more than half of my property. I have one driveway for 2 properties. I tried to sell it for a year without one offer. People ran the other way, not even for the land. I want an actual assessment of my property because I'm land only. Go down Monmouth Ave. See how many new houses are there in the last 10 years. I can understand 20 or 30, but 100,000 in 2 years? Are you kidding me? My family, as I said, I could have my aunt that's been in real estate for 50 years explain it to you, but there's no way my house is worth this. I'm land only, 239. I like her idea of having an assessor come in, so why do we have to pay $400 for appraisal and then have to pay for the appraisal guy to come with me to the hearing too? What is that gonna cost me, $400 or $500? And then you're just gonna tack it on again the next year? But it's just not fair, how, especially with smaller, older homes like mine. Most of the comps I went around to were redone. I had to put a dime in 2 years. I did explain a $100,000 increase. 2 years. Seriously.
Is there any way that you could, that we, I mean, in the 4 days that are left, it's probably unlikely that we're going to be able to do that this year, I would have to say.
That's correct. And frankly, based on the timeline, the guidelines for tax appeal, and I should preface this by saying, I always find myself in the unenviable position of defending or explaining the tax program. The tax assessor is the designated official, was appointed by the council, although, as it has been mentioned, works under the guidelines established through the state of New Jersey as well as the county tax board. Even at this stage, if the assessor were to agree with the property owner that the assessment may not fairly represent the value, the process requires that an appeal be filed.
So, yeah, I mean, she mentioned that, that the assessment was, she won her appeal, and then the very next year,
Tax
she
right
had,
back on.
you know, the assessment went right back up, which is one of, I think, the drawbacks, the big drawbacks of this program is that they do have the ability to reassess every year rather than taking like a 5-year average or doing it every 5 years or every 7 years. So it makes it, Mr. Campion pointed this out at the last meeting, it makes it very, very difficult to budget for your taxes if they're going up and down, mostly up, every single year.
To add insult to injury, the period for appeal is much shorter than it used to be too, so I don't really think anybody really likes this program.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a 3-year freeze once you, prior to this?
No, not anymore.
It changed on this new system, it's what, you know,
Yeah.
1
I
year.
mean, you used to think it would be 3 to 11 years. It could be as long as, you know, that, now it's every year.
What about her idea of having the assessor here, instead of us having to pay for all this too?
It's a county appeal, I don't know that we have the authority over that.
Yeah,
That's
and it
why I'm
doesn't,
doing it.
it just gives you advice for the tax appeal that you would have to file with the county anyway. Are there any other comments?
Can we make this an agenda item for our next meeting on the
Yeah.
25th?
I think that's a good request. Let's
Thank you.
get this taken care of. Yeah. Seeing no other hands for comments, can I get a motion to close the?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any discussion items that anybody on the council has? All right, which brings us to the mayor and council reports. I'll start with you, Mr. Campion. Do you have any reports?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing at this time of significance. We're starting the budget process. We're going to do the best we can to try and hold the line where we've been, but we're going to meet with department heads, identify what needs we have out there, and see where we have to allocate resources before we go in with a plan. So we are starting the budget process now.
Mr. Borbeck?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
All right. Mrs. King?
The only thing that I have is a thank you from Annette Wishbow. Apparently, one of our officers assisted her, and she wanted to make sure that he was recognized. And she says, "To whom it may concern, on November the 25th, I had a fall in my home. I called your police department, and they dispatched Officer Schaefer immediately. He assisted me to my feet and made sure I was stable before he left. He was very kind, caring, and professional. It is so comforting to know we have such a wonderful police force. Please thank him again for me, and God bless each and every one of you who are on our police force, and God bless all the citizens." Annette Wishbone, and she lives in Fairway Views. And that's all I have.
Thank you for that. Councilman Schuler?
Nothing at this time.
Councilman American?
I have nothing at this time.
All right. That brings us to our reports, notices, and correspondence. Some of these have already been discussed. They are the resolutions of other towns in the area closing out the assessment program, opting out. We also have our monthly police department report, our monthly court revenue report. There was a resolution from Chittenden Falls condemning acts of terrorism. A letter from the South Monmouth Regional Sewerage Authority about a public hearing, the New Jersey Water Supply Authority public hearings, and a letter from the Board of Chosen Freeholders regarding donations in vehicles. Did you have the...
Just one quick comment. The one item that is listed as the invitation to attend the seminar on January 13th.
Okay.
That's Wednesday, is the 1 p.m. It's a seminar sponsored by the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association, and it's specifically on the assessment demonstration program, and as it's titled, "Where Do We Go From Here?" So I will be attending that. Any members of the council that are available and are interested in attending, you're welcome to join me. I hope to come back with some answers for our discussion next week, or 2 weeks ago.
Excellent, thank you, Jay. The next item on the agenda is ordinance introductions. We have none at this time, which brings us to our resolutions. Our first resolution is a resolution of the Borough Council adopting a cash management plan for the year 2016, which is resolution number 2016-18. Can I get a motion on that?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is 2016-26, which is a resolution of the Borough Council amending the meeting schedule for the year. So that's making 2 changes to that, right?
Right.
All right, can I get a motion on that?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-27, which is a resolution of the Borough Council appointing Eileen Eilenberger as the Borough Representative to the Shore Community Alliance.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution R 2016-28, which is a resolution of the Borough Council approving the Shore Municipal Alliance grant for the fiscal year 2017, which is a total grant of $98,000.
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution R 2016-29, a resolution of the Borough Council authorizing the execution of a shared services agreement between the Borough and the County of Monmouth for Special Citizens Area Transport System, which is our SCAT program.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-30, a resolution of the Borough Council authorizing the execution of the sub-grant agreement between the Borough and the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management pursuant to the Hazard Mitigation Grant.
I'll second.
Just for clarification, everybody, and I'm going to read the middle part. The application has been approved by FEMA and the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management in the amount of $650,000 with the borough to participate with a 10% funding match in the amount of $65,000. This is for the upgrade to our infrastructure with the pump stations and some other work that's being done for preparedness. So it's $650,000 worth of federal money that's coming into town to save some of the burden from the taxpayers on repairs that we had to make.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Yeah, I like it when we're receiving $650,000 rather than paying it out. The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-31. Resolution of the Borough Council authorizing a partial release of the designated developer performance guarantee.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution Number 2016-32, a resolution of the Borough Council authorizing release of the designated developer performance guarantee.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution Number R 2016-33, a resolution of the Borough Council approving use of the community center.
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead. I was
I'll
just
make the
going to say
motion.
for Manasquan Youth Football and for Danielle Pure.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
It's okay. And the next resolution is Resolution Number R 2016-34, a resolution of the Borough Council approving the placement of a donation box in the municipal building for Anthony Santos, an 8th grade student who's running a campaign.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution Number R 2016-35, a resolution of the Borough Council approving payments of the itemized claims as set forth on January 7th, 2016 bill list.
Make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And we have one more resolution that was added to the agenda, which is Resolution Number R 2016-36, a resolution of the Borough Council confirming the appointment of Catherine Francolino as the office assistant. And she's moving from she is working in the office now, she's a part-time assistant, and this will secure her as a full-time
I'll make
employee.
that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That brings us to our second public comment section. In this section, you can talk about anything. It doesn't have to be on the agenda. If you have something to say, please come forward, state your name, address, and address the chair.
Hi, my name is Kara Clark-Martinez, 812 Central Avenue. I'm kind of in a position here, and I just want to ask the council. I sent a letter to the council. Did anybody on the council receive my letter?
Yes, we are in receipt of your letter.
Can I ask why it was not on the agenda?
We do not tend to discuss personal matters.
Can I ask why it's a personnel matter? I think it's more of a public safety issue, is my concern. And I was told by Mr. Delaney prior to the meeting that I was not allowed to get up here and ask any questions. Does the council, does the mayor have any comment on that?
It was my understanding that Mr. Delaney tried to ask if you wanted to discuss the personnel sections of that letter outside of this public meeting because we would not be discussing those. I didn't I mean, he can speak for himself, but if you have questions to ask us or comments to make, you are more than welcome to make them in full.
Mr. Delaney, I have a question for you. Was I not told at the start of this meeting that my questions towards council regarding the letter I sent them would not be entertained? They would not be addressed?
My comment to you, and I'll state it publicly, was that I acknowledged receipt of your letter. I indicated to you that I was preparing an appropriate response. I also indicated that the council would not provide public comment or entertain discussion concerning personnel.
Okay. One more question for council. You seem to deem this a personnel matter. Can I ask you whether you feel that my letter, since I'm more than likely going to be barred from discussing it, do you not consider it a public safety issue?
You're not going to be barred from discussing it.
Okay.
Whether or not we are able to answer the questions that you set forth is a different, I think, matter. But if there's something you want to say, you're more than welcome to say it.
As a mother of a child with autism, I offered a free training in this town on December 10th. It was open to all police departments in PBA Local 50. They were notified about it 3 months prior to. I had contact with every department, every chief, the president of PBA Local 50. The only chief I did not hear back from was the chief of police of this town, the town where we chose to live, to raise our family. And for personal reasons, I'm very disappointed with that, which I'm not going to go into. But the facts I set forth in this letter to you, I would like addressed, not because I need an answer, but I just need the assurance that it's going to be fixed. I brought this training to this town for a reason. It's very personal to me. It's my daughter. And I understand you're making this a personnel matter and you cannot discuss it up on the dais, but I would just like the assurance from the council that you will pursue having Gary Wazen from POAC come in and train these officers. They had a free opportunity to do so on December 10th and it was not pursued.
And you would like them trained in autism. That's what you're requesting.
Yes, all the officers, per state mandate, by 2012, had to receive this training. These officers in this department, well, 3 of them volunteered to come, and I am so grateful for that. They gave up of their own time, and they should be commended for that. They're wonderful men. I don't think they should have been put in a position to volunteer. I had hoped that officers would have been assigned with that much notice, like other officers were. There were 26 other officers from different departments, 10 from Avon, 10 from Cedar. They were assigned there by their chiefs. I had 2 chiefs of police at the training, and I got no response from our chief of police. And you can make that a personnel matter, but for me, it's a public safety matter. So I just want to know what the council's stance on it going forward.
Well, I think the council's stance is that it's a personnel matter and they're going to deal with it internally. And the best source to inquire about that is through Mr. Delaney.
Thank you.
Can I just come up, or do I have to raise my hand?
No, you have to get ready. Yeah.
Come on up. Beth Bernardo, 610 Monmouth Ave. Volunteer advocate, disabled children, and I'm sure Mr. Schuler can back me up on that. I'm probably the only person in town who's brought our school to court. I read the article in the Co-Star that she's talking about, and it's about when children with autism, as you should know, the state very prevalent with autism. Very high number. I've been doing this work for over 20 years. And I read the article, and also a recent article about a little boy that was 5 in Pennsylvania that got out of his backpack and drowned. As I said, I read the article, and as an advocate, I think the training is important. The child, her child, any child in this community that has autism, even maybe a neighboring community, I would not want to see the end result of finding that child as an advocate. I think that's a very important thing. I'm more than happy to go in a search for any child if something like that happens. So, but I like to say, as an advocate, you know, I came here more on my taxes, but after reading the article myself and hearing what she had to say and being an advocate myself for over 20 years. And my father went to the school. I've been in over 30 years. resident in this town, and, well, I don't know how many children in this community, there's just no counting. Every child next school are affected. So I find this training very important. If a child like that gets out, you have to find them quickly before something happens. In the cold, I mean, especially a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old. So I'm backing up my fellow parents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
And just in regard to the comment regarding, the comments regarding the necessary training, I can report to the council that the officers of the police department have received the required training, and in fact, there is a program that is in development through the prosecutor's office as well as the Monmouth County Chiefs Association to provide additional training in this area. In fact, it's my understanding that through the leadership of our chief and that the officers of the department previously received this exact program some years ago. And this was offered as a refresher course. And for whatever reasons that I won't go into publicly, this opportunity that was made available was not utilized in this case for training our officers.
Well, if they were supposed to be trained by 2012, shouldn't they be trained by now?
They were.
Can I just comment on this?
Yeah, come
Sorry.
forward, it's okay.
Gary Whiteson, who's the head of POAC, who I work very closely with. I'm doing my master's thesis in education with him on this. We are co-writing it. It's going to be co-published. He was called by the search party in Pennsylvania who was looking for that boy who died. He was called by the K-9 search unit because they felt, they are a search unit, that they were not properly equipped to deal with this. Our officers, all of them, once they come out of the academy now, any officers that graduated police academy prior to 2009, they had to receive this training in their departments, and that's why the state gave them the 3-year gap. They had from April 2009 to April 2012 to complete the training. Every single officer that is employed by Spring Lake Heights has the current mandated training now. They have met the state requirement. All I was asking for from this department, and it has no reflection on the police officers whatsoever. It's more of a reflection, I feel, on the chief of police not utilizing a free opportunity. It was free, it was offered at the Heights Community Center. I set everything up, there was 3 months' notice. It was to enhance and further their education on the topic because so much has changed in autism since 2009, since 2012. They are learning new things continually. And one of the things that Gary Whiteson, and I wish they had out in Pennsylvania, Gary gives officers, the police department's forms, their emergency medical forms, they call it. It gives you a picture of the child's likes, the child's dislikes. What will make that child run away? What will bring that child to you? The child that passed away in Pennsylvania hated to have his name shouted. Hated. He would hide from it. What I was in a discussion with last Tuesday was whether if the search parties had known that, if they had had a form that had said that, not to call out Jalil's name, did that cause that child to run further? They don't know. I just would like every police officer, every police department, if they're giving a free training opportunity, to take heed of it, jump in it, go for it.
Well, Kara, based on what you're saying, and as the new emergency management coordinator, why don't we do this and expand this to our EMS and our fire departments?
He does that as well. He does all first responders.
Great
Gary
idea.
Whiteson has
Why don't you
trained
and I
over-
get together after the meeting and we'll set something up townwide and we'll open it up to the fire department? Because if an event like that happens and we're looking for somebody like that,
They should
it's not just our flying guys in blue that are going to be out there doing the
Hey,
heavy
I'll
lifting.
put me on the list.
And
I'll be
we
out
can
there.
open it up to all our community, because we've had discussions about developing a CERT team and having community volunteers, which I think is important. I think that we should establish something, and maybe when the weather gets warmer, I have to do a townwide function, I have to do a major event for planning for emergency management exercise. This could be a golden opportunity to bring the whole town together, not just the police department, but bring all the agencies into play, even the public works guys who are out there doing stuff. It could be beneficial to them, so.
I think that would be an excellent idea, and that's exactly what I would like to see, and that's what I had hoped to see in December.
I
Thank
can
you.
hear your passion on this, and thank you
It
very
is.
much for, being an advocate for this. And we'll do what we can to try to push this issue forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You need some advocate training? No problem, I can help you out.
Any other comments? We have one more, at least one more.
Mike Pasatella, 30 Spruce Lane. Can I revisit this assessment
Sure you
demonstration?
can.
Earlier, I think my wife asked why the tax rate went up rather than down. Am I to assume from that there was as much lower taxes as there were assessments gone up, has gone down?
When this first came through, and Mr. Delaney could probably explain this better, was I'm kind of a research person and numbers to me don't lie, so he actually pulled the book out of the previous 2 years of what they did. And he had expressed to me that usually a third stay the same, a third go up, and a third go down. And when we flipped through the book and we randomly checked samples, those numbers seem to work out in that favor. Some go down, some go up, some stay the same. The variable that's on top of that is the increases in taxes that are happening from the county and the school, that the ones who stay the same or go down, well, if you went down and taxes went up on what to bring in, you broke even. If you stayed the same, you saw a small increase. If you went up, you saw a big increase. And that seems to be what has a lot of people paying attention right now.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing that I'm having a hard time thinking about here is what this lady said. She said 100,000, mine went up 150,000. And it seems hard to believe that so many people's taxes were lower than that.
Well, let's say it's not in that effect where for every dollar it went up, it went down. What I'm saying is if you take individual units where one person went up, somebody else somewhere on the other end of town may have gone down. Dollar for dollar, I can't say for sure without looking at the average to say which way it went, but based on the comments we've had presented here, I would fairly say safely that the average went up.
I am marking houses.
That being said, the people
My
who
Google's
click now
housing
don't
agency
tend
now.
to come in.
Very true.
Are those figures available to the
And as I
public?
said,
I think you can find them on the county website, right?
The figures are available in
Yeah,
total,
about
in
230.
terms of
I have
what
93
our
foot each,
total
100
aggregate
foot
assessed valuation was in 2014, 2015, and now what is
Who are you
on the
with?
books for 2016. And I can tell you that, having just started to do this as part of our budget preparation, what we were looking at, or what we've experienced is on the residential property, taking out commercial and apartment property, we're looking at about a 5.5% increase on
Yeah,
average from last year to this year for residential properties.
Okay.
Last year, that number was somewhat less, and that's a reflection of
Well, backing down
what
isn't
I'll
my
call
gentle
the
nature, so
the
as I call
strength
it,
of
I've been an
the
advocate.
market economy, particularly as it affects residential properties in town.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment? Seeing no further hands, I would make a suggestion that we adjourn.
Can I just?
Motion to close public.
A motion to close the public forum.
I'll make that.
Sorry, I'm new with this. Getting there.
And excuse me, he's with emergency management? The
What?
gentleman over here is?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna give him. a
I
chance
like to
speak
give
on
you my
that.
name and phone number, so when you do come together for getting that together.
I will talk to both of you
Okay.
after the meeting. You're gonna stick around?
Yeah, I can
So
stick
let's
around
first-
for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry. Let's, we'll go to public comment, we'll close that, and then anybody else up here who would like to comment, I'll give them the chance. So I'd like to, if somebody would make a motion to close the public comment section.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, then, go ahead, you can go first, Chris.
We glossed over this before when we gave the resolution for the lobby up here, and I think that this is a very impressive thing now that I'm reading through his letter on what's here, and I'd like to just elaborate a little more, especially with our co-star reporter in the front row. Maybe we can help this young man out. He's an 8th grader at Spring Lake Heights School, and what he is doing is collecting jeans for youths experiencing homelessness. So it's a jean collection that anybody can bring in and drop off jeans here and clothes. This program apparently has been very successful. It says over the past 8 years, they've collected over 5 million pairs of jeans to help homeless teens and get clothing. So if you have any spare jeans or stuff you've grown out of or whatever it may be and you want to bring down here and drop off, I give a lot of accolades to this young man putting this together. It's very impressive, so we should definitely support it.
Bigger since you.
A little excited. I already wrote an article about it. You didn't read it?
Ouch.
Write it again. It's nice. It'll be helpful.
And, and I just wanted to point out that we have two communication high school students here who are on a journalism project, two of our own from town, Ebby Shin and Jonathan Slovak, and I just wanted to applaud their
I think we gave them an interesting meeting. Anyone else? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm just gonna give my phone number.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.